let me introduce Chris. So Chris here, wonderful gentleman that I met through 500 Startups. Chris's company, Judolaunch, was accepted into the 500 Startups Accelerator batch. I forgot which batch number. However, during his time there, he was working on growing his business as well as helping the existing clients that he has. He also runs another business selling, I believe it's seat cushions on Amazon, and one of the leading brands.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, all spinal health related stuff.
Nice. So spinal health related products, a leading brand on Amazon. Notice that he's running a company and then also running another company, which is kind of fun. And I think we'll get to dive a little bit into how he's able to free up the time to do something like that later on. So to kick things off, I think this is the topic that I'm most interested in as well. Chris, thank you for being here. If I may kick off with the first question here, this two-part formula that you're using to launch all of these products and all the different Amazon marketplaces. I know that you might not be willing to share all of your trade secrets, but I'm going to try my best to get you to share all of your trade secrets. What is it? How do you do it, honestly?
Yeah, no, it's funny because going into this, before Judolaunch was ever created, and I was still running my own brand, there were things I thought were so important to a successful product launch that ended up being not so important. And there were things that I never gave a second thought to that ended up being immensely important. And I switched the way that I prioritize my time and allocate my resources, and it changed everything. And that's kind of why we're having this webinar, right? Because I feel like a lot of sellers are in the same position, that you think something is important, everyone says it's important, but when it comes down to the data, and now that I have the data behind me with my experience, having done over 200 of these launches, it's totally different than what you perceive or what the street says. So yeah, I think why don't we dive right in, like you said, and jump into the quote unquote two-part formula, which is nice and catchy, but each part has plenty of subparts, as you might imagine. But the two-part formula really breaks down into laying a successful foundation for a successful launch and then running the launch. That's really it. There's two major sectors of the launch. It's the fundamentals and then doing the launch itself. And everything that we're about to cover really comes down to just not fucking it up. Like you can do a lot of sexy things, add bells and whistles, but the major thing that you want to do is not make any really big mistakes, because it's just one big mistake or one pink elephant that you're not seeing that everybody else does that can completely ruin your launch. So I'm going to hit all of those, all of the ones that I know, that I'm familiar with. So basically, the first step in laying the foundation is just making sure, well, before anything, having a quality product is number one. If you don't have a quality product and your product is shitty, you didn't do the research or make the necessary relationships with suppliers, then there's no way that the launch is going to be successful long term, because the customers are going to eventually find out that it's shitty, and that will eventually get out no matter what tactics or tricks you use to try to boost yourself back up. So that's number one, but I'm not even covering that because that's a totally different conversation, is the sourcing. But before that, after that, you want to focus on just having an optimized listing, which comes down to doing your homework when it comes to keywords and making sure that your listing is optimized on the front end and back end for keywords, and then making sure that it says. So there's the part of the listing that talks not to people, but to an algorithm, and that needs to be on point. Then there's the part of the listing that's talking to people, and that needs to be on point. And if you fuck up either one of those, the entire launch is fucked. So starting with the talking to the algorithm, doing awesome keyword research is essential. And I'm really stoked I have actually absolutely no financial interest in anything that I'm saying here to you guys, except for the fact that I run a launch company. But I'm stoked to actually give a hot tip here, because we promised that we would offer some like tools and tricks and automation services and stuff like that. There is a tool that only 7-figure and 8-figure sellers are talking about right now that I haven't heard any like lower level sellers talking about. It's really the top sellers that are talking about this tool. And the reason is because this tool was created by other 8 and 7-figure sellers and developers in the space to help with this part, talking to the algorithm part. And so the tool is called seller.tools. And like I said, I have no affiliate arrangement with them or anything like that. I'm just saying this because this is kind of like an insider webinar and I have this insider knowledge. So I wanted to share that with you guys. These are guys that actually get their data, not from scraping Google or from, extrapolating just public data that they get. They actually get their data from the same sources that Amazon gets their data from. They have unfair access to good data. So they tell you if you're relevant or not in the front end and the back end of your listing with the keywords that you should be targeting. So when it comes to keyword research, forget merchant words, forget, actually Google Keyword Planner is still solid. Use Google Keyword Planner, that's still awesome. But definitely get hooked into seller.tools because that's an awesome tool for when it comes to talking to the algorithm. But in general, you just want to identify the major keywords that people search for that you may not realize people search for. Like if you're selling an eye mask, you might not know that there are a ton of people searching for eye mask for mom silk bag, not just eye mask. And there's no way you would know that without using these tools. So it's important to do your research beforehand and not just wing it. And the one that I mentioned to you, seller.tools, is an awesome one. And I believe they have a free trial that you can use that you can get up and running with if you want to use that. But that's a hot insider tip right there. And then of course, you want to just cross-reference Amazon themselves. They're going to give you a bunch of data themselves. Like when you identify what your major keyword is, type into Amazon and you're going to see a ton of recommendations. And that's Amazon telling you what most people search for related to your major term. So if you're searching for eye mask and then you type that into Amazon and it says eye mask for airplane, then that word airplane better be in your listing in the front and back end. So that's really important. Beyond that, then it comes to selling to the person. And Nemo, I don't know if you want to wait until later in the conversation to talk about product images, but I know you wanted to cover that like specifically here because
That's fine. If you want to go right into it, I think this is really important, and I like how you're structuring it about listings, talking to the algorithms and talking to the people.
Yeah, 100%. So when talking to the people, the reason I wanted to bring up the images now is because more than literally anything, when you have an e-commerce business, your images are the most important thing that when it comes to the decision making that the customer is going to have. You could put the most amazing sales copy in there, but if your images are shit, or not even if they're shit, but if they're just not ordered correctly, or you just are missing one or two very key ones, and I'm going to tell you exactly what your 7 images should be, 1 through 7. But if you're missing a couple of these, or even for the important ones, just one of them, you could completely botch your conversion. And the algorithm could be hearing all the right stuff and could be popping you up there, but because your conversion rate will be low, then that speaks to the algorithm and pops you right back down. So speaking to the people then speaks to the algorithm in a way and will ruin your launch. So I'm going to jump into that. So the images thing, first of all, I'm surprised at how many sellers get this wrong because it's actually really easy if you know what to do. And it's like, it really is a simple formula. But the cool thing is, like, you as a seller doing it right have a huge advantage because there are so many sellers doing it wrong. So just doing this right puts you in the top 10% and gives you a huge advantage over everyone. So I'm just going to run through 1 through 7 what your images should be. You can upload up to 9 technically, but nobody is going to see the 8th and 9th. And also, most people won't even see the 5th, 6th, and 7th. They're going to look through, most people will see just the first. Then the next group of people will see like the 2nd, 3rd, and maybe 4th. And then a couple people will see the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and no one is seeing your 8th and 9th photo. So you don't even have to upload them. It's completely useless. So we'll go through 1 through 7. The first image has to be plain white background, shot of your product with awesome lighting and with the product filling the entire space. So even if it's a beautiful shot and you have a completely white background and it's very great lighting and it highlights your product at a good angle and with the ingredients or whatever, if you're not filling the whole space, you're not going to catch people's eye because your competitor is doing it. So if you're selling like a lip balm and it's a tiny little like container in the middle of a big white square, it's going to get scrolled right by. So it needs to be cut so that it's filling the entire space. You want that first pixel where like the actual image ends on every single side of the square to be maximized. So it looks huge and pops out to the customer. This is like, I come from the music business. I was in a band for 7 years, right? This is like compressing. So we compress songs so that it fills more of the audio range and it sounds louder, even though it's actually the same volume. So this is that version, the image version of compressing a song. So fill the whole space, plain white image, not kind of white, not off-white, not eggshell, white. So make sure you get that down pat. And by the way, at the end of this, you guys can email me and I'm happy to send you a contact to, since there's not that many, there's not hundreds of us, there's just dozens of us, I can do this. Otherwise I would way overload my contact, but I have a contact for a photographer who can do your product photography. You'll literally send your product to him. He knows the game. He takes all the images, edits them, and sends them back to you in this order that I'm about to describe to you, and you're like good to go. So if you're interested in that, don't forget at the end of this live chat, message and email message me, and I'll send you this contact. So that's the first image. The second image should be in use. So the second image should be someone or something using your product. If it's a charger, it should be charging a phone. If it's a hand exerciser, it should be in a hand being squeezed. If it's a floor mat, it should be being walked on. This should be in use and it should be the top use case, which you can get help from your keyword research, because you're going to find out if you typed in mat and then the first thing that came up on Amazon was kitchen mat, that first in use picture should be the mat in the kitchen. So that's going to be your homework. That's how you know. So also, again, has to be professional. Don't take it with your iPhone. Hire someone to do it. This is the most important thing when it comes to selling your customer and the sales copy that directs to your customer. It's the images. They will see that and judge you way before the first word is ever read. So make sure that's awesome lighting, it's done by a professional photographer, and that it's the top use case. And then after that, the next image that you want is the major benefit. So it has to show somehow not the features of the product, but the benefit. So that comes down to either passion or pain. The customer is either experiencing some pain that they want to solve and they want to alleviate, or they have some passion that this object allows them to indulge in. And it could be something as simple as a cup. Like literally everybody buys anything for a passion or a pain. Like the pain or the passion when you buy a cup could be people freaking love coffee, and coffee is amazing. So if you're selling a cup, show someone drinking a delicious cup of coffee and like freaking loving it. That's the benefit of your cup. No matter how boring you think your product is, which hopefully you don't, but there is a passion or pain behind it. And this is what you want to show in the third image. You want to show like the major benefit that the person is experiencing emotionally by getting your product. Then once you've spoken to their emotions, their like reptile brain, then you hit them with the fourth image. And this is where you're talking to their rational brain. And this is where you highlight the feature. So the first image, plain white shot. Second image, best use case. Third image, major benefit, passion or pain. Fourth image, features. And the feature you want to show is the feature that your top competitor doesn't have, which hopefully you have. If you don't, just choose your best feature, but hopefully you are able to do, your product sourcing and your product development well enough to have some unique features. And it doesn't have to just be one feature, it could be a few. You could highlight 4 main features and show them, show those features in your image, and that will allow your customer to rationalize in their mind why they want it, even though they already wanted it by you showing them the benefit. But now you're talking to their rational mind, their logical mind, and now everything is aligned. By the fourth image, everything should be aligned. They know that they want it, you've ignited their emotions, and they can rationalize to themselves and speak to someone else why they got it. Oh, I got it because it has like 2 charge ports instead of 1. No, you got it because it looked fucking sexy and the lighting was awesome and it looked shiny or whatever, or it had cool curves. That's why you really got it. But now you can rationalize it to yourself and others. So that's what's important there. All right. So after your first 4 are really the most important. Obviously, your number 1 is the most important. But your first 4, like when it comes to the set of images, are the most important. Then you use your last 3 to just drive it home. So the 5th one, what you want to do on the 5th one, since you already showed the major use case, use the 5th one as your catch-all and show 4 use cases in 1 image. So you want the image split into 4 sections, just Photoshop split into 4 sections, and it's showing 4 different use cases. So if it's that kitchen mat and you type into Amazon and you type in mat and it comes up kitchen, but then the next one says office, and then the next one says garage, and then the next one says workshop, and then the next one after that says outdoor, then do those 4 next use cases in that 4 split screen shot. And the reason you don't want to break these out and just fill up the next images is because, like I said, no one sees them. Like the further along you get in the images, the less visibility you have. So just do that. Crop it, 4 use cases, 1 image. That's your 5th image. Then the 6th one, you can just add another major use case or flourish shot, quote unquote, where the thing looks sexy and cool for some reason. If it's a shampoo, maybe instead of just sitting there, it's like there's like water gushing up beneath it, or there's like chamomile flowers all over it or something like that, like looking really nice. That's what you want for your 6th and 7th image. It's another like awesome weird use case, or it's some kind of flourish highlight shot that adds to that emotional reasoning, so that it just looks really sexy and cool, and it allows you to show different angles and whatnot. But most people aren't even going to get there. And I literally don't even bother with the 8th and 9th image because they don't even show on the page of Amazon. You have to click the image and go click the like side button just to get to them. And I've never seen someone do that in my life, like while Amazon shopping. So that's images. And we spent so much time on that because it's so important. And like I said, the reason we're doing this webinar and Nemo is interviewing me right now is that I've seen hundreds of these launches, like literally 250 launches, each one multiple products. So in terms of product launches, I've seen over 700 like actual products being launched. And I'm telling you that 90% or at least 80% of sellers get something wrong here. So just by doing this, you're already putting yourself in like the top echelon of sellers. And even big name sellers like that are doing serious volumes make big mistakes here, and making a tiny tweak can just change your business dramatically. It's amazing.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah, dude, totally.
So I'm very curious about, in addition to the photographs, folks are going to move, they're going to move past the photograph, and then they're going to get over to the words. They're going to start reading through the words.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about talking to the people using the words as well?
Definitely. Yeah. So it's actually a similar concept to what we were trying to do with the images, but now you're just doing it with words. So the one thing that you want to have identified is what that emotional attachment is to that person buying that product, and the reason that they're buying, the emotional reason, not the logical reason that they're buying it. And speak to that first, and then jump into the features and why you're better than X competitor or whatnot. But first, you really need to like speak to that emotional person and really get them feeling a certain way. Because people buy because they feel, not because they think. They're buying because they have some kind of emotional reaction to this thing. That's what's going to make them press the button. They're not thinking like, oh my God, it has 20 megabytes of storage. They're thinking like, I can't wait to rock out in my car because I have no car stereo and I have no music and it's so boring every time I drive to work. And I want to be able to just rock out with this Bluetooth speaker or whatever. That's what they're thinking. They're thinking like, what are they going to do? So speak to that first. And the elegance of this comes in when you have to speak to both the algorithm and the person at the exact same time, which can be an art. It's an art and a science to do this. And that's where a tool like Seller.tools actually comes in. I'm not to be their salesman, but some kind of tool will help you to strike this balance. But you should first start by just typing out from your research, speaking to that person directly about how this is solving their pain or igniting their passion. So it's got to speak to that first, what their benefit is, their ultimate benefit is. And if you don't know what that is, a good exercise to do is to ask why like 20 times. So they're buying this cup. Why? Because they want to drink coffee. Why? Because they love coffee. Why? Because they like the smell of it and they just drink it every morning. Why? Because it gives them energy and it makes them feel good, and it's a social thing that they do with their coworkers, and they get to talk to people and it makes them feel warm and it starts their day out. And then why? And you just keep doing that over and over again until you finally get to like the heart of the issue. Like in this case, we might be just talking about energy, like giving them energy because they're drinking coffee. And you got that from like selling a cup. And that allows you to speak to the emotions of that person. And if you're not sure on that, just take a crapshoot and start with something. Start with a pain or a passion that you're solving and speak to that. And then while you're doing that, the art comes in when you have to sprinkle in the keywords that you need so that the algorithm is being spoken to as well. So if we're going back to that mat and you're speaking to the pain, and instead of saying best mat on Amazon, has like coarse grips for your feet and beveled edges, 2-inch beveled edges. Instead of that, you're gonna say, stop walking in pain all day. Like stop the constant pain from standing. Or that's what you're gonna say. You're gonna speak to what they're experiencing. And then you go into the features. And through each of those, so the first one should really be the benefits. The second bullet point, we're talking bullet points here. The second bullet point should be another benefits. The third bullet point can be benefits, and then you can add the features that support those benefits. And then you can start going into features. And when you get deep into features, you can really kind of like get less graceful when it comes to sprinkling in the keywords. I've literally seen sellers who are killing it who just dump like keywords into the last bullet point that don't even really make that much sense. But again here, speaking to keywords, I just want to bring this up so I don't forget it. And I know this is another point that we're potentially thinking about talking about later, and we can dive into that later a little bit more. But staying on point, staying in touch with Amazon's policies and terms is so key here, because you can totally fuck yourself over if you don't realize something about Amazon's policies. Like if you mention the lifetime money back warranty in the description, you could get it taken down. In certain categories like supplements and beauty, there are certain things that you can't say. You can't mention that you, like for instance, treat any disease. Even if you have a supplement that's meant specifically for people with that disease, you can't say that, or you can get taken down or suspended. But even more important than that is the logistical aspect of knowing the guidelines that could get you not even just suspended or taken down, but just de-indexed. And then you don't even know what the fuck is going on. You just lost a bunch of sales and you were doing amazing, and then suddenly you're not selling anything anymore. And that can happen just by you not being in the know. Like, just a quick aside, because this is really important. This happened just a couple of months ago when Amazon implemented a change that switched you from, in the back end of your listing, allowing you to have 500 characters per back-end keyword search term field to 250 characters per back-end keyword search term field. So, and the crazy thing about this is the funny thing about working as an Amazon seller. Pretty much every seller I know has a love-hate relationship with Amazon. But you could put in all 5,000 characters, but not only would they cut off everything after 250 characters and not index those, but they would stop indexing the entire field in certain countries. So you would, just by not knowing that rule or being in the know, you just stopped getting indexed for all of your backend keywords, not just the ones that went beyond their rule. So you had to know so that you could cut your keywords down to less than 250 characters or less than 250 bytes, which is essentially characters minus spaces. And if you didn't know that, you completely lost all of your backend indexing power, which is nuts. It's kind of crazy. You would think they would just implement the rule, cut everything off, and then allow you to keep indexing for what was left, but that's not what was happening in certain countries. But that just shows you the danger of not being in the know. So like, the fact that you guys are on this webinar, the fact that you guys are obviously, everyone watching and like participating here is obviously active and staying in the know about what's happening now is totally crucial. And, you know, kudos to you guys for seeking out knowledge and being proactive about it, not getting lazy. But anyways, that was a long aside. But that's basically where you want to go when it comes to speaking to the people in your listing. You're speaking to their pain or their passion, and you're talking about the benefits first, then the features that support those benefits. And that allows you to speak to their emotions and then speak to their rational side. And that's the art and the science of it. So, yeah.
So I've heard you say a lot about how to not mess up. And there's a lot. There's like, I feel like you're walking through a minefield of sorts, and you might not know where the mines are placed. I think your experience here comes in handy because you've walked through the minefield multiple times over. Thank you for sharing that. When it comes to, you know, not making mistakes and then the execution of the launch, you know, what kind of comment can you give on the execution of a launch?
Yeah, that's basically part two of the quote unquote two-part formula for a successful launch. And so before we even like get to that, I'll just finish the first part, setting the foundation, is that before you actually do the launch, you'll first want to make sure that you've done your homework on the space. So yeah, you have like your product already ready to go. I'm sure you've done a lot of research beforehand before you sourced it, but before you do a launch, right then, you have to do some research on the space. Because if you're going to do a launch, you have to know that you're doing a launch that will work for the space that you're in. If you're in like a very weird, like niche-y space that's like low volume, maybe high price, or maybe it's low volume and you just have a lot of products, I don't know, then you don't have to do as aggressive a launch or nearly as aggressive a launch. You could do a very light launch and like bang to the top of it. But if your space between the time you started to source that product and the time you're ready to launch has become insanely competitive, then you need to do an aggressive launch. And that's like, with the state of Amazon right now, that's the only way to go, in my opinion. Like, if you're not being aggressive, you're just losing. Like, you're going to be on the bottom of the ocean with just thousands of pounds of pressure on you. Like, it's a reinforcing feedback loop, and it can either be negative or it can be positive. And being aggressive gets you on the positive side of that reinforcing feedback loop. immediately so that you don't get stuck on the bottom of the ocean. But do your homework. So use tools like Amachete, probably my favorite product research tool. It's a plugin to Chrome, shows you like sales data and all kinds of data about the product you're watching on Amazon.
How do you spell that?
It's Amachete, Amachete. Awesome data tool, works in every Amazon country. Yeah, this is an excellent tool for that. So tools like Amachete, tools like Jungle Scout, they'll tell you before you do the launch, you'll know what kind of daily sales your competitors are doing. And whatever spot you're trying to get to, you need to exceed the sales of the people who are occupying that spot now during your launch. So you need to do a launch where your daily sales are exceeding that of the sellers that are in that spot for you at that moment. That's what's going to get you up there and get you that visibility so that you can, and whether you stick or not is a completely different story, and that's where part 2 comes in. But that's what will at least get you there so you have a fighting chance to like maintain your position and solidify your spot. So that's that. That's the homework. That's laying the foundation and making sure that you're set and ready to go before you do the launch. Then when it comes to executing an actual launch, so we have started to talk about that. The best way to do a launch is you're going to be sending out enough units so that, like I said, you're matching or exceeding the daily sales of the competitors in the spot that you're trying to get to. If you're trying to get to mid-page 1 for your main keyword, make sure that you're exceeding the sales for the sellers that are in that spot. So you're going to execute a launch that goes over 7 days and sends out units at a discount. For those of you that don't know how a typical launch works, you send out units at a discount and make sure that each day that many units get sent out so that you show that those sales numbers that Amazon needs to know that you are the product that people are buying for this particular keyword for that particular product, for that particular product category. And that's what gives you that initial chance to get the visibility so that once you're up there, if you do have a quality product and you did do your homework to like lay the successful foundations for an awesome launch, then you can stay. This is the door that opens for you to get a chance. It doesn't mean that you'll stick up there. If you have a sticky launch, that's a success story, and you can replicate that over and over again. But if you didn't, something went wrong, and likely it's either product quality or it's something about your listing or it's something about the back end. So you're going to do the launch over the course of 7 days, and then comes the follow-up. So if you're doing a launch obviously this is a new product that you're doing a launch of, or it could be an existing product that just fell off and you're just relaunching it. You need to make sure that you are tracking that over the course of the next month, and you don't just launch and forget about it and think, okay, I'm good now that I launched. You want to respond to comment on reviews. You want to respond to seller feedback and comment on feedback, and have feedback removed that's against terms of service. Like for instance, if somebody leaves a product review as feedback, you can have that removed. It's programmatic, it's instant. You just create a seller support ticket to have it removed, and they'll remove it immediately. So you can get, like, in my case at least, it's more than half of negative feedbacks I can have removed because they mention a specific product. So there you go. But you need to follow up. So it's important for you to have solid customer support in place, solid, listing monitoring and seller account monitoring, so that you don't fall off, because all of these things contribute to your ability to get indexed and to rank. If you're just getting a bunch of negative feedbacks, or you're not commenting, or you're like over the 24-hour limit for customer service, then your like back end score of your account is getting dinged, and you're viewed as a negative seller, and then your products are much less likely to be visible in different parts of Amazon. So this whole thing is a visibility game. And that's basically it. That's the follow-up. Now, when it comes to like these really the like patterns that I've noticed specifically from doing all these launches, I've noticed one big thing that big sellers do that small sellers don't, and that's really successful sellers do that the less successful sellers or the small time sellers just don't do, and it can make all the difference. And that's launching a line, not a product. So if you really want to be super aggressive and get your brand out there and not just create like a cash flow product, you want to launch multiple products at once. And this has all kinds of crazy benefits. You get more real estate on your own listings if you do this in a ton of different ways. So not only do you like get to launch a brand, not a product, by like having a bunch of your products in this line going out to customers, but when someone clicks on your listing, you're more likely to get that space, that frequently bought together space underneath your product. So it's either going to be kitchen mat and like kitchen fork, and it's like some other company, or it's going to be like your brand's kitchen mat and your brand's office mat frequently bought together. And then people can add them both to cart like immediately, and they're likely to, because they're likely to have that pain that your product line solves, that general pain that your product line solves. So you get that, you get customers who bought this also bought, you're more likely to get more of that real estate. And this is just free visibility. This is visibility that you wouldn't get otherwise. So it's just more eyeballs on your listing, which ends up translating to more sales. And when you launch a whole brand like that, there's just this magical like cross-pollination that happens between products. And you can initiate this in other ways besides the co-launch. You can do cross-product promotions too. And I love to do this. Is awesome. So it's like you can literally say it right in your listing. If you add this to cart, if you add the shampoo to cart, our conditioner is 20% off automatically. And that'll show as a promotion underneath your listing, get conditioner for 20% off when you add this to cart. And that's another piece of visibility. So just the difference between having a product and having a line of products is just massive. And obviously, all the larger volume sellers on this call know that, because you learn it really quickly when you start to launch new products that they synergize with one another and they bring customers to one another. And that's hugely helpful. And it's something that the really serious big sellers that have a team do, and it's something that the smaller, like just cash flow dudes don't do. And they don't see it that way because it's more big picture thinking. So yeah, so we're still on question one, Nemo. So I'm sorry because it's already 2:10 my time.
This is great.
Yeah.
I'm just taking notes and I'm trying to digest a lot of this myself. I have another question here, if I may. And folks, for those of you who just popped in, if you have any questions, just type it into the live chat on YouTube on the right-hand side of the video. If you're on mobile device, I have no idea how it works. But if you're on desktop, that's where it shows up. We'll address it later. So the question that I have is, how do you give out those discounted products to spike your sales volume? There's just so much to that, I feel like, the details around. I've heard of different methods. I've even heard of policies that Amazon has to, some people think that those policies ban such an approach completely. Obviously, it's not completely banned. However, you could do it the right way. You could potentially do it the wrong way. Will you give us more commentary on that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I've had a ton of dialogue with Amazon directly surrounding this. I mean, a ton of dialogue directly with multiple teams in Amazon surrounding this. And at the end of the day, it's funny like how much kind of like fear mongering there is and stuff like on Reddit forums and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing like immoral or wrong about doing a launch. Like if you go to any college campus or concert, you're going to see Red Bull throwing out free cans like all day long. And that's a launch. I mean, they're giving away free product, or like in our case, it's steeply discounted, maybe not free, but it's been done since the dawn of time. I mean, the best way to get customers is to give away something to them first. And that's what we're doing here. So there's nothing wrong with it. When it comes to terms and violating terms, you're only violating terms if you're demanding a review or insinuating that they'll only get the product for free if they leave a review, or if you even insinuate that the product is intended for the purposes of a review. None of that will fly. And any of those things, like if you relate some type of discounted product to a review, you could get suspended, or you'll likely just get a slap on the wrist, and get a notice. But if you're not doing it specifically for a review, and that doesn't mean you can't get reviews from this. You still can and will, because customers are allowed to leave reviews if they want. They just can't be specifically incentivized to. But that's perfectly fine. I mean, this has been validated by multiple different teams within Amazon to me directly. You can still do any type of launch or discount or giveaway, for free, for steeply discounted, for significantly discounted, or otherwise, without violating their terms. It's totally fine. And every company does it. I mean, there's no way they could ever implement that as a term of service, because every company does this. I mean, it's really common, like, especially everyone sees it after Christmas. It's like 80% off deals everywhere, because the cost of storing that inventory for another 6 months is more than them liquidating it at a steep discount. So it's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with doing a launch, and it doesn't violate terms of service. It's the best way to aggressively and quickly get the sales and get to the position that you want to get to be at the place that you want to be in your business.
So let's say that I am trying to launch a new product. I'm looking at the seller who runs the listing, who owns the listing, that ranks #1 on Amazon, the keyword that I'm gunning for. I use some of the tools you talked about. I use Jungle Scout. What is it? Amachete? Amachete as well.
Yeah.
I can suss out how much sales volume is behind that listing. Now I have a number to hit. I know I need to exceed that sales volume each day. So if the daily sales volume is 70, I'm thinking to myself, if I really want this, I need to get 70 sales at least, probably 71 sales consistently per day for 7 days.
Yeah, if you want to hit top of page one, I mean, maybe you don't want to go that crazy at first, because you could probably get great sales by getting to the middle or the bottom of page one too, if it's a really competitive category. But yeah, that's the thought process you want to use. Yeah.
Okay. Now I have a target, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to give away 71 units each day. I have only so many family members that I can convince. I have a pretty large extended family, but let's say I'm done with convincing all of them. I can go and I can convince all the people on my mailing list. I can convince all the friends that I have. And I'm reaching a point where, okay, I think I've exhausted the pool of people that I can ask to get my product at a very, very low price.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I maintain that 71 sales per day of velocity?
That's when you come to Judolaunch. That's when you get the experts, call the experts in to help you do it right. And that's what we specialize in. So Judo, when you sign up with Judo, you just go into your dashboard, you upload your product information, upload your codes, and click launch, and then the whole process is automated and overseen by a human being. And I mean, we can dig into that at the end of this call as well, like you said in the beginning. For people who are interested in seeing that, I'm happy to walk through the platform so that people know how to do it. But yeah, if you want to call in the professionals, the big boys to help, Judolaunch is there.
Got it. We've got around 3 minutes left before I promise folks that we jump into Q&A. We can also keep going all the way till 11:30 if there aren't any questions, which is fine.
Cool.
The key thing that we haven't covered yet, well, you talked a lot about Amazon policies already. They change. Like you said, there was some policy you mentioned in the international markets where 250 characters is a very important, very, very important marker to look for. My goodness, I was not aware of that one. how would you advise sellers who have to navigate these policies going forward? And, just any general tips or advice on that? Because there are so many out there. I'm asking more about a general framework that they can go by to
Yeah.
protect themselves.
Yeah. There's just one thing that you need to do, and that's to join a respectable and active group, seller group of like serious, like not one of these like public groups that, is available for everyone and it's all people who are interested in this. Join a high level group. If it's paid, pay up. This is like going to save you, and this is like the key to growing your business like fast, is being in a community. So get involved with the community. If you have to pay, just shell it out and make sure that you're surrounded by other sellers who are serious, and those guys are going to be in the know, and that's how you're going to know. You're going to stay like constantly in the conversation. You're going to be on the ground floor of the buzz, and you're going to find out about these things before they hit or as they hit, instead of being the last to know and wondering why you stopped selling. That's it. That's just the one thing. I wouldn't even mention anything else. That's what you need to do.
Do you have any groups you'd recommend for those who are starting from scratch and really can't tell the difference between a good group and a bad group?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, so I first of all, I just stay away from like the public groups that you can just find by like searching. And I would join one of the paid groups, because and I'll mention a few, but the paid groups, they self filter, because like only a certain type of seller is willing to pay for that, and just the price itself filters out the noobs that you don't want to, and nothing against noobs, but you just don't want to take advice from them. The people who are new to the game, who might talk about things that they don't know, those people will be filtered out. So you can join, like for instance, Ryan Moran's group, The Tribe. That's a great one. Lots of high level sellers in there, 7 and 8 figure sellers. There's a group called Zon Squad that I have been a part of and have gotten a ton of value out of. Lots of high level sellers in there, always careful to like stay on top of the news and like are respectful of truth. Yeah, start there. Start with one of those. The Tribe or Zon Squad, those are great. You can find those just by Google searching or Facebook searching those.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Last question that I have here is all about, as sellers or as aspiring sellers, we only have so much time. Some of us might be working full-time jobs. Some of us dream of having a huge amount of sales on Amazon. You're CEO of your own Amazon brand, and you're also CEO of Judolaunch. What kind of advice can you give to someone who wants to head down this path and knows that their time is precious? They want to
Yeah.
make sure that they don't, that they can just really spend their time as best possible. Automation, things like that. What do you have?
Totally. I wish somebody told me this actually long ago, because it would have saved me a lot of time. But you just need to, in my opinion, in my experience, it's important to constantly self-observe and self-assess how you are spending your time. Your time is like your most important resource. And if you find that you're spending 40% of it on customer service, that's a problem, because doing customer service isn't growing your business, it's just keeping it alive. And anything that you're doing that's just keeping it alive should be outsourced to either a software or a person. And I honestly think like the biggest turning point for me was making my first hire. I mean, now I have multiple teams of people with divisions within each organization, but my first hire ever was a shift in mindset of I have to learn and master everything myself, to I need to delegate this to somebody who's already awesome at it, or who I can teach to do it repeatedly, and they can do it instead of me. And the time that you spend to teach that person to do the thing is going to pay off tenfold or 100-fold or 1,000-fold, because you then never have to do it again. And we could talk about automation services and hacks and all that stuff all day, but when it comes down to it, like a human brain is the most powerful computer known in the known universe, known to man. So if you're writing these little hacks and creating zaps and like if this, then that, and like these complex systems to like shave off 30 seconds here and there, that doesn't make any sense. Like you can hire someone in the Philippines for $400 a month, full-time, 40 hours a week, college educated, English speaking, and they can do way more than you could when you're tinkering with these little hacks and tricks. And there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. Like I have friends that are just obsessed with like making these elaborate systems to save them time. Just get a human being. It's cheap. And it's like, it's the most powerful computer on earth.
Will you walk, for those of us who haven't gone down that path yet or are considering it, or for those of us who already have teams and we're thinking about, hiring is always hard, building teams is always hard, finding talent acquisition, always hard. I went from being myself to now, what is it, 75 employees? We're at a high point right now because of our
Dang, dude, that's a lot. I didn't know it was that much.
It's Christmas time, so our fulfillment centers have a lot of staff people in it because we're serving a lot of these e-commerce clients and we're doing order fulfillment for a lot of them out there. So it's a high point right now. And so, getting all these people in and knowing the caliber and type of person that you need for the job that needs to get done. Can you speak first to those who are wanting to hire their first employee? Because you've been there before. You know how it feels. I've been there too. I know how it feels as well. And for those who are just in general wanting to build a stronger team, maybe some thoughts for them as well.
Yeah, because there is actually a huge difference between those two. It is like a chicken and egg problem. It's crazy. And like as judo grows, like I'm just learning this lesson over and over again myself. That the first thing you need to hire for is those more basic and like kind of mundane and like repetitive tasks that you're doing that you shouldn't be spending your time on. But hiring that person that's maybe less of a high level skill is going to cause you to not allow that person to move up in your organization if they don't have the skills to be, at that higher level. So that can sometimes, that's the friction of growing any business. But yeah, that first hire, you just want to make sure that that first hire is whatever that person is doing, it should be taking off the plate things that you're doing that are not growing the business. That's it. Anything that you're doing that's just keeping the business floating or keeping it operating should be that person's job. So maybe that's customer service. You hire a customer support agent. And it doesn't even have to be full-time. It could be part-time customer support agent. You're doing constant back and forth with your supplier about like logistics, then hire a logistics operator. And those are crazy cheap because logistics is such a huge industry. There are tons of people who just specialize in this. There are just hundreds of millions of people who specialize in that. So get someone to take care of your logistics so you never have to deal with it again. They talk to your supplier, they place the orders and all of that, monitor the inventory. Anything, I don't know what that is in your business, but whatever that is, hire that out first. And just speaking from personal experience, I would say, there are a few great places in the world to hire from that happen to be very used to outsourcing and like digital remote working, and are like very like fairly priced for somebody's first hire. So you can hire in the Philippines using onlinejobs.ph or caliber.com. Those are two like really great websites for hiring in the Philippines. Totally, English is the second national language. So you're gonna get an English speaking person. Everybody's college educated. It's just part of the culture. Not everybody, but in the cities, it's common to have college education. So you're going to have like a college educated person, and it's going to cost you less than $1,000 a month, like way less. And you're going to be paying them a great salary, for the Philippines. So it's everybody wins. And then also, if it's your first hire, and I'm assuming that this is this person's first hire, that they're under a budget. The Eastern Bloc is a great place to hire too. Serbia, Ukraine, Romania. Again, you'll get English-speaking people, college educated, highly motivated, used to working remotely. That's really all that matters for you. But then when it comes to hiring like higher level, more like executive level skills, strategic planning, and like hiring for growth positions, that's a totally different ball game. And I'm just learning that right now, actually. That's a real, much harder hire, in my opinion. And I've made my fair share of mistakes on that one.
Yeah, what's been hard? What are some of the mistakes? Because even those are things that we can all learn from, right?
Yeah, no, I think so. One of the big mistakes that I made was trying to make my own assessment of the person instead of trusting their assessment, the other people's assessment of them who know them really well already. So what I learned, I ended up reading an entire a book on this and listening to a bunch of podcasts on this and like getting advice from people. And I made a couple of really key hires that I mean, definitely wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now without them. And the practice that I started was to do reference interviews. So this is just a little tip. I know we're going down this like rabbit hole here, but this ended up being the most important part of my hiring process is interviewing the references, not just the person. When it comes down to the last three people, if this really is that important of a hire to you, and they give you three references, and they should be their bosses or direct reports of previous companies, you call those people and get them on the phone, at least three per candidate, and you interview them about their relationship with the person. And even if they don't want to badmouth them, you'll find out. The things will come out when you talk to them, even just for like 10 minutes or so. You'll find out if there's issues with this person, or if they're not really what they say they are, or if they're not who you think they are. That's like a super hot tip that's just completely changed my hiring process 100%.
Oh, I appreciate that a lot. I also like references as well. I also like the references that are recommended to you by the references. So, for
Ooh,
example, let's
I
say
like that. I don't do that.
let's say that I'm trying to hire for a position, and I hear that Chris is pretty awesome at it. So, Chris and I are going to talk. He's going to give me his list of references. Right off the bat, I already know that these references are all going to say great things about Chris, right? I mean, that's why they're on the sheet. You gave me that sheet. So I will definitely still talk to the people. I know in the back of my mind that I'm going to get a probably pretty biased view of Chris, probably biased towards the positive. And I mean, if they give me bad news right off the bat, okay, that's a huge red flag. I mean, even if the people that you write on your own list as
Yeah.
recommending you are not really recommending you, that's a dead end. That's the end there. I always end the interview with these people, and I just usually do 10, 15 minutes. I usually ask them, hey, what's another person that you know who worked with Chris? Because usually, Chris in his prior jobs probably worked in some company with more than one person, right? And they'll say, oh yeah, Sally. Sally also worked with Chris a lot, and I know Sally. She's still here at the company. I'll say, oh, that's great. Oh, may I have Sally's contact information, because I'd also like to have a conversation with her about Chris. So that's where I get the real insight. That's actually the reference call that I look forward to the most, is when I talk to Sally. And Sally's going to give me all sorts of information about Chris. So if I ask my questions, my money question, the question that I make sure I ask every time, if there's only one question I ask this one. It's the one where I ask Sally, hey Sally, if you're in my shoes and you're hiring Chris for this position, would you hire Chris? Now, of course, Sally needs to have a certain level of acumen, like business acumen or knowledge around the role, to be able to answer that intelligently. It's really a primer question that can open up a few areas to explore further. So yeah, there's so much on building teams. I got to respect also that for those of you who are still here on the call, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to dive right into how Chris's company can serve you. I promised at the beginning of this webinar that we'd save some time. For those of you who are Amazon sellers and you want to grow your sales a lot, and you're interested in outsourcing some of that work to experts, you're interested in being able to pull it off with very little risk, because you want to work with someone who's done it for 242 and more products. I think it's 242 and counting. I've lost track, honestly. I think last count was 242 that I got from you, and that was a few weeks ago already. Stay on right here, because Chris is going to open up kind of his bag of tricks. He's going to show a little bit more and share with us how he and his company can help you grow your Amazon sales using Judolaunch. Chris, You ready?
Yep, totally. I'm actually going to share my screen here, and I'm going to make this short and sweet for you guys because I know we've already been on for an hour plus. So I'm basically just going to give you a general walkthrough for how Judolaunch works. So if you're interested in that, stay on, and we're going to jump right in right now. So I'm going to share my screen.
If some of you, while Chris does that, if some of you are really keen on what's about to be shared, however, you have to jump to another commitment because it is 11:30 and that's what we set the time for. It's okay. Chris, you've got some way that you can share. You got some way for these folks to reach you? Is there some email, something you can share? Mention the webinar and he can help you out. Anything that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, they can just email me. Anything that you have questions about throughout this entire presentation, it's totally fine. You can just shoot an email to sup@judolaunch.com, sup@judolaunch.com. That's
okay, could I put that into the live chat as well?
Definitely. Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, sup@judolaunch.com. Wonderful. And they just need to mention the webinar and you'll take good care of them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any question you have on it, or you want that reference to the photographer, whatever you want, you know.
Oh yeah, the photographer. That's a great hot tip. Thank you. All right, the screen is now focused on your window and we can see the Judolaunch website. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is just what you see when you log into our platform. You just click launch. That opens up your launch platform and you can see all of the products here that are either pending launch, during launch, or they've completed their launch. And I'm just gonna walk you through like how you book a launch. It takes about a minute and it's super duper simple. So just click this plus button, choose the country that you wanna launch in, type in the product name, type in the ASIN, and I have this ready here just for our use. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna type in the original price. You're gonna type in the promotional price that you're offering this for. We're getting really aggressive here. We're gonna offer it for 99 cents. Target keyword is gonna be, for us, the major keyword is vitamin D, and then we choose our launch date, which we're gonna do on the 24th. That's actually a terrible launch date. I would never do that. We're gonna do the 27th instead. Then you click add product, and all you have to do here is paste in your discount codes, which you're gonna generate on Amazon. We have like a easy tutorial for how to do that. And these are just some example codes I'm gonna copy in here. You paste those codes in, validate that you have sufficient inventory to complete the launch, and then boom, your launch is uploaded and it's still in draft mode. So in order to actually get that launch initiated, you click the launch button down here, and then you can see that it's been set on moderation. This is where we're different than any other company that can help you with launch, because what this means, this moderation means, is that an Amazon expert consultant is now reviewing your launch to make sure that you're set up for success. So they're looking at your space, they're looking at your products, they're looking at your listing, they're looking at your inventory levels, they're looking at the number of units that you're distributing. And if there's something fucked up there about any of those things that would make us think that this won't be an extremely successful launch, they're gonna message you directly, or they're gonna change something if they can on the back end. They're gonna change something themselves. So that this will be on moderation for 12 to 24 hours to allow an Amazon expert consultant to review it, an actual person. And then once it's done being moderated, then the status changes to approved, like you can see with this bag. And then once it's approved, then you start your launch. And you can see an example one here. So this is a launch that's been finished. You can see the graph of how the keyword ranking changed over time. You can see what the bestseller rank was before and after. And then you can even check out the report for this launch, where it tells you what your BSR was before and after and where it peaked, and then what your keyword rank was before and after and when it peaked. And then the Amazon expert who was monitoring your launch the entire time will actually write you a summary telling you, interpreting the results of your launch. So telling you, what went great, what customers loved, what, why this was successful, how it could be even more successful next time. They're gonna, a human being is going to review your results, and using the data that we have, like I said, of hundreds and hundreds of launches, give you some kind of valuable data and advice on that. So that's that. That's it. That's how easy it is, to launch with our platform. And I'm just full salesman mode right now because you guys stayed on because you wanted to see this. But then going back to what we started the webinar as, which was laying a positive foundation for the launch. When you sign into Judolaunch, you also have access to our optimized section where you can upload a listing, and this is a translation service that translates your listing from one language to another, usually English to a foreign language, and doesn't just translate it. It's a human being who's a native speaker in that language and is also an expert on Amazon SEO and copywriting. So they interpret your listing, rewrite it, and provide you with a completely new rewritten listing, front end, back end, optimized for, like we said, talking to the algorithm and talking to the people. So we're going to type in here. Going to add in the native link. Target language. We're going to do Italian. No, we're going to do French. And that's literally all you have to do. Then you click optimize to put that from draft mode into in progress mode. And then within 3 days, you'll be sent back your rewritten listing in the target language, optimized for that language. And then you can download it. And there you go. You got your optimized listing, title, bullets, description. We even include the HTML. It's everything you need to get up and running and be successful in that market. So that's it, Nemo. That's the whole kit.
I got some questions. Very interesting. So I got some questions for sure. One of which is for the viewers here who aren't really familiar with international markets, they're already having a hard enough time in the United States. Why the emphasis on international markets? Can you educate us on international markets and going from being a US seller to going overseas and when that's appropriate? Think through that for us, will you?
Yeah, this is a big deal because Amazon is investing a ton in international expansion. That's why I started Judo, because I knew that it would be huge and I wanted to get in to this ecosystem in this market before it blew up. And now it's already blowing up, which is very awesome and validating for me and also good for my business. But also validating that I did see it, coming a while back, but we're still in the early days. And this cementing your place in these foreign markets now, while it's still in the growth phase and Amazon is dumping money just to grow it, is going to put you in a place where you can cement your spot in your niche for the long-term future. So really, this is something that serious sellers want to think about. I would honestly, I would love to have as many launches booked as possible, but I would not recommend international expansion to not even a small-time seller, but like a cash flow seller who's just not building a brand, not building like a long-term business or a long-term vision, but really just wants a few cash flow, like one cash flow product or a few cash flow products, or is just dabbling. I wouldn't even mess with it. I think this is if you really want to build an empire, if you really want to build a long-term sustainable business, these are the types of long-term strategic decisions you make as a business owner, where you put your chips on the table before anybody else does, so that you can reap the benefits in the future. So after Amazon US, Amazon Germany is the next biggest market, then it's Japan, then it's the US, then it's the UK, and then it's France, Italy, and Spain combined, and then it's the rest of them. That's the order right now. And so if you're looking to launch in a specific order, first look at Germany, then look at Japan, then look at the UK, then look at the rest. And getting there now, when there is plenty of volume, there's a huge amount of volume. Amazon Europe, all countries combined, is now just under equal to the US in terms of volume, sales volume. So that tells you right there, I mean, it's a huge market already, and it's just poised to get bigger and bigger because Amazon is just dead set on global domination. I'm in direct contact with Amazon because we're trying to make some partnerships directly with Amazon because of how important this is to them. They're open to it because that's what we do, is we help Amazon businesses expand to new countries easily. And they literally told me, like, they have task force and teams specifically for each and every country that they're expanding into. And they told me directly that this is top priority to Amazon, and Amazon is just dumping money into international expansion. So if you want to follow the money, like, expand. That's the moral of the story.
What advice can you give to those sellers who are very excited about what you're describing? They get how you want to cement your place in international markets now, because a rising tide's going to float all boats. Amazon's like just pouring water, pouring money into the situation, so the tide's going to rise. And if you're number one in your category, you're going to reap the benefits of that, right? As sales volume goes up across the whole category, you being number one, you're going to reap most of the benefits of that.
Exactly.
So getting your goods overseas and the potential international regulations. I mean, there's a lot there, You just think about the reverse of it. Here in the US, we have agencies that try to protect American consumers. They will test products before these products are allowed for sale in the United States. We can probably safely assume that other international markets, other international, non-US governments have the same types of agencies out there to protect their citizens. Will you help pretend that I'm a brand new seller to this? I'm doing okay in the US, don't know much about international. What do I have to watch out for?
Dude, that's a really great question. And first of all, if you are actually in that position, you should expand as soon as you possibly can. You've done all the work on the, I'll answer your question, of course, but I just want to mention, you've done all the work on the product development. You've done all the work setting up the ecosystem for your business, like the operations, the customer support, the logistics, and everything. Expanding geographically is like the easiest horizontal expansion you can do in your business. It doesn't take that much work. Like, everything that you need is automated. But yeah, the main things to watch out for are, one, you need to figure out international logistics, which is easy, and I'll explain why. You need to figure out international tax compliance, also completely easy, and I'll explain why. And the third one is you have to do a product compliance check in certain categories. Is really important, like supplements, beauty, health and beauty, very important to do a product compliance check. But once you have those three things down, the rest is ready for you. I mean, using services like Judolaunch are going to accelerate your success in these markets and allow you to be successful not only from the launch, but also long-term. But to handle each of these challenges, and these are the main ones that sellers bring up, right? Logistics is not hard if you partner with a logistics company, like, for instance, Flexport, that is completely transparent and covers all markets. So a company like Flexport, and there's a couple of these now, but you'll be able to see your shipments, from the door of your factory to the door of the fulfillment center, in a beautiful dashboard with like personal communication, and everything's completely, automated and outsourced. You just put in the destination and put in the pickup point and the, cargo size, and you're good to go. They'll take care of handling the VAT, handling the customs, all of that, making sure that you're set before you book the launch.
They'll even find you the better prices for the carriers. We have some clients that use Flexport to deliver goods to our fulfillment centers as well. So I've seen the conversation back and forth. You really can't go wrong by having, and I have no financial affiliation with Flexport. You really can't go wrong with them bidding for your business, right? because if they can get you a better price, and I saved one of our customers, I think it's both of our customers. He's with me, and then I referred him over to Chris, and he started working with Chris. I think I saved them over $1,000 per shipment per container. No, 2,500 per container. It was nuts because he was overpaying because he didn't know to spend the time and energy to shop around. So someone out there took advantage of him, and I didn't like hearing that. When I heard that, one of the first things I said was, we have to reach out to Flexport and give them a shot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I've had that experience so many times. I went through 3 different logistics providers and forwarding services before I found Flexport, and that's still my preferred partner. There's so much sketchiness in that industry; it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the handles the first thing, because they'll literally, like Nemo said, they'll like do the negotiation for you and do the dealings for you. And then when it comes to tax compliance, again, you got to outsource it to the professionals. So you can use a service like VAT Global, who will get you the VAT number, get you VAT registered, do your VAT filings for each and every country, make sure that you're compliant, get you any VAT refunds that you're owed, because every time you ship into a country, you pay VAT, and you can get that refunded to you because you shouldn't be double paying. So you're going to pay that on the sale to the customer, and you're going to pay that when you import into the country, but the VAT that you import is going to get repaid to you. So they file the refunds, they'll do everything for you and make sure you're compliant, so you never, ever have to think about that. And then when it comes to actually sending VAT invoices, Judo actually has a service called Judo Automate that takes over the automation of your account, all of the customer service in all of these languages, and all of the VAT invoicing. So by law, you have to send a VAT invoice to any customer that that asks for it, that requests it. And yeah, so you can automate that through a service like Judolaunch. Well, actually, Judolaunch is the only one that I know that does it. So that handles your VAT. Just outsource it. Let the pros do it. The opportunity is big enough that you should shell out to make that happen. And then when it comes to product compliance, again, there are services that will do this for you. And Amazon even has right now a list of partnered service providers that do product compliance. It's on their site. I haven't used any of them myself, so this time I really can't recommend a company specifically. A lot of our customers have had to go through this experience, but since I haven't used any myself, I really can't endorse any of them. But you can check on Amazon's list of registered service providers for product compliance, and they will tell you which ones they recommend and also give you a deal on them. So that's the first place I would go. And they want you to be compliant. They don't want you to get kicked off. They want to keep making money off of you. So they're going to do whatever they can to help you get compliant with your products. And those are basically the 3 main concerns, besides getting actual sales and traction there, which I just showed you how to do using Judolaunch. So that shouldn't be a problem for you either.
Yeah, that's great, Chris. Thank you so much. Folks, we've been here together for more than a little bit now during this holiday season. Let's give a big thanks to Chris. If you want to drop him a line, it's sup@judolaunch.com. SUP@judolaunch.com. Drop him a line, say thanks. Hey, it's the holiday season. He's giving to you free of charge, right? Free of charge. He's giving you the insider knowledge. I'm committing some time right now during the holidays, even though it's crazy busy during the holidays for me. But I think this is important, and I want to do this. I just want to do this for y'all. I think I wrote an email about things that had a big influence on me in 2017, one of which is helping the difference makers out there. Hopefully, some of you out there do want to make a difference in the world today in your own way, shape, or form. And so if we can contribute to your journey, we are honored to do so. Chris, thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for helping us out.
Dude. This was fun. I'm glad we did this. This is awesome. We should do it again.
And YouTube worked. YouTube Live worked. So that's great.
And we didn't have to download the encoder. All right.
Yeah,
good to know.
So sup@judolaunch.com. Drop them a line if Judolaunch can help you with what you're doing on Amazon. Of course, holler at Chris. He'll tell you if he can help out. If you need any help with fulfillment, so that is storing your goods somewhere in the U.S. and making sure that they're packed and shipped efficiently to different places. My business has a little bit of space right now, not a ton. We have a little bit of space. We could take maybe one more client, maybe. So reach out to me direct as well. I'm easy to reach. You go to nemochew.com. On the footer, it has a phone number. You just call that number, leave some information about yourself, and you'll be taken care of. So, with all that said, we wish you all a very, very happy holiday. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. Stay safe in travel. Stay safe. Merry Christmas to you too.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it.
For sure, man.
All right. Any parting words before I hit the hang up button?
Love you all. Thanks for coming. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
All right.
See you next time.
All right, everyone. See you next time. Thank you for joining us.